Absolute bombshell happened today. It is college football national signing day. And the number one player in the country, Travis Hunter, he was committed to go to Florida State, telling everybody he's going to Florida State, but nobody even thought that yesterday when Dion Sanders said he was going to shock the world, that he was going to get the number one player in the nation to commit to Jackson State. Now, this has actually sent off a lot of, ripple effect amongst college football. And I, for one, I love it. I love it so much. Then, of course, we got to talk Deion Sanders, HBCUs, who's signing where, and all of the stuff that these coaches are talking about, like Dabo, Swinney, Lane Kiffin, and, of course, Steph Curry sets the record. I'm George Reister. He's Ralph Amsden, and this is Reister or Wrong, the intersection where sports, business, society, and pop culture meet the truth. Absolute fire on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Facts only. Make sure you check your feelings at the door because no BS is allowed. We keep it 100. You guys leave a 5-star rating wherever you listen to podcasts. Subscribe to Right or Wrong. And also, you guys can get a hold of us. Shoot us a text message, 818-293-7547. That's 818-293-7547. Or shoot us an email, IMAD, IMMAD, @unafraidshow.com. So, Ralph, we'll start at the beginning. National Signing Day, we find out that Travis Hunter, the number one player in the country, signs with Jackson State instead of Florida State. And I'm like, bro, this actually sent vibrations through everywhere in college football. And you see who's mad, and I find it just very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool though, right? I think that the reason that student athletes went to the top colleges, the reason top student athletes went to the top colleges before is because it was a promise on a return for the investment of both your talent and hard work. So coaches would come to you, highly compensated coaches with boosters and administrators understanding that a coaching salary actually is a payment to the player. It's a payment to get the talent, right? These coaches would come to you and they would say, this is my track record. This is the return on the investment of your time and talent that I can give to you to get you where you want to go. And that's why the best kids went to the best schools. That's the only reason the best kids the best schools is because they were promised a high return on their investment, their time and talent. They weren't fans. They were not fans. Now, in this case, Travis Hunter actually did grow up a Florida State fan, but if you can give them an immediate return on the time and talent that they've already invested at the high school level and give them mentorship from a unique perspective, Dion Sanders being one of the greatest defensive backs to ever play, arguably top 3, Dion Sanders can coach Travis Hunter directly. He can get paid for his time and talent right now. The game has changed. And I don't hate it.
But see, I noticed that people are like, well, the only reason why he went there, Florida State gave that he may make $1 million because of the Barstool thing. And I'm like, no, that's not the only reason why. Because he could have got that from some other schools. Look at Quinn Ewers going to Ohio State. That wasn't the only place that he could have gotten money. The thing is, there was a relationship there. And I just want to tell everybody listening, if you are a college football coach or a fan, make sure you are pointing your anger and frustration over players choosing schools to maximize their name, image, and likeness and their earnings. Make sure you point that frustration in the right direction. It shouldn't go at the players. It should go at the NCAA, who dropped the ball on this for over 10 years, dude. Over 10 years. They knew that players should be paid. They knew that they were going to lose the lawsuits. They knew it. But instead of putting guardrails in, we have the Wild Wild West, which has now turned into what Dabo Swinney has called free agency. Oh, this free agency, I don't like it. Listen, man, you're making $90 million on a contract. Get over it. Like I cannot, Ralph, hear coaches who leave whenever they feel like it, who get rich off of unpaid labor prior to now, complaining about those dudes having options. I can't hear it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Dabo Swinney makes $23,000 a day. A day. Whatever day ends in Y, Dabo Swinney is cashing in at least $23,000. So it's really hard for me to hear him over the $23,000 he'll be making today complain about how football has turned into free agency. He's not coaching at Akron. He's not coaching at Utah State. His claim that it's no longer about the education, he didn't get into the profession of being a college professor. He's not a high school history teacher. He is a football coach, a well compensated one, who, if you believe in the free market system that we've designed here in America, deserves to be one of the highest paid coaches in all of college football. I happen to believe that minor league baseball exists and hasn't ruined baseball, and that you can compensate somebody between the age of 18 and 22, still have them be a representative of a university, be an employee of a university, and compensate them accordingly. I believe that to be true. And until you get enough people on board with the idea that these kids realize they deserve to be compensated instead of having compensation built off of their efforts, until you come around on that, then you're going to continue to be frustrated with the fact that things are rapidly changing and out of your control.
Well, see, there have been unintended consequences, though, to name, image, and likeness, to transfer portal, and all of this.
Mm.
And that make and like, and I understand where people have gotten a lot of frustration surrounding this because they're like, I don't. It's hard to keep up with the roster. As soon, like, you're always afraid, are your best players going to leave? So as a fan, I understand the frustration because I know what it's like because players have transferred out of Oregon. They've transferred from other programs that I like, that I love to see where they were. But this is the way of the world. And this is the way that contracts were no longer contracts. We've seen just in the last 24 hours, kids get dropped the day before signing day. They had intended on signing with a team. Coach says, listen, I know we honored your commitment. We let you commit, but now we may have a better plan. So you need to go find somewhere else. The day,
Washington State just did it. Washington State had a quarterback committed to them for over a year. They made a change, and guess what? The week before signing day, that Washington State commit doesn't have a home.
yeah. So
It's a
I
dirty
I don't
game.
feel I don't feel bad for coaches in these situations who have a tough time managing their roster, because I do understand it's very difficult to manage a roster in these situations, particularly if you're a team like Memphis, Arkansas State, SMU, teams that are in the AAC or Mountain West, even like teams that aren't Power Five schools, because now though the kids will see, oh my God, I balled out here. I can go to Oregon, I can go to Alabama, I can go to Tennessee, I can go to Texas A&M and go play and maybe compete for a national championship. So those guys I feel a little bit of something for. But when you are a coach who's paid millions of dollars, I'm not going to, your job is difficult. And so I'm not going to feel sorry for you that you have some additional work to do to manage your roster. But Dion
I don't
Sand,
feel bad for anybody. I think we're moving closer and closer to the solution for everybody's grievances being making the players employees of the school and representatives of the school, sort of from an outside form. So like the way that somebody is a first round pick in Major League Baseball, right? You wouldn't have first round pick, but you would have people offering kids contracts to say like, hey, it's an escalator. If you're here for 4 years, it increases by such and such. If you graduate, it increases by such and
mm,
such. You can set market rules to make them employees, which will stem people transferring, because they will be treated the way that they should be treated. If you're going to treat coaches this way, you should absolutely treat the players this way because the coaches are making this exorbitant amount of money off the backs of the players.
Well,
I
it
think that
was
the TV money that comes in should go into a pool. I apologize, in which you choking on my own words, but in which you actually have the ability to say, like, we have X number of salary cap dollars as a member of the Big 12 in order to build our recruiting class.
okay.
Right?
So
So when you're making an offer to a player, you're actually making an offer to a player. That would slow down the amount of transfers because they're coming in on 3-4 year deals to come play for you.
what do you think about the idea? Because Texas's recruiting class just boomed. They got a bunch of offensive linemen, and it was publicized that their linemen are going to get $50,000 worth of NIL deals per year. And people are like, this is bad for the game. I'm like, I see no problem with it. See no problem with it. Texas has the ability, every school has boosters. It's a matter of whether you can activate those boosters and those companies or not. How invested are they with what you're doing? Like,
Absolutely.
I mean, literally. I mean, because people will get activated. I got activated in terms of there is a person on staff at a university that I think that they should keep. So, and it's important to try to keep those people around who are necessarily the lifeblood of your program. And depending on how strongly people feel about it, depends on how open they will make their pocketbooks. But Dion Sanders got Travis Hunter. And
Yeah.
I want to stress this. I cannot stress this enough, Ralph, that he got Travis Hunter, the number one recruit in the nation. He got 4 4-stars last year, I believe, too. Putting together a fantastic roster. He had the number 55 recruiting class. That's above some Power 5 schools. Not even to mention a group of 5 schools. Number 55 recruiting class. I mean, USC would have been happy to have that 2 years ago. But if Dion Sanders then turns around, because everybody's like, oh, he's going to leave for a big school. If Dion Sanders leaves for a bigger program, like a Power 5 program, before the next 5 or 6 years, I'm off Dion. Absolutely off. He would be a complete fraud because his whole thing was build up the HBCUs. You can come make it to the league. We're going to build new stadiums. We're going to expand the program. We're going to get that TV money. So now if he just uses this platform and what he's doing as a stepping stone to parlay this into the Florida State head coaching job, even if it's there, his alma mater, I'm not cool with it, Ralph. I would be 100% out on Dion. Other NFL players that I've talked to would look at him with a side eye as well, because you can't go selling that in terms of getting people hope and going back to the HBCUs where like the black players go to predominantly white universities, and players are like, nah, let's do something different now. So I would not be on board with that.
I think that if you end up finding out that this was an exercise in ego for Deion Sanders, you should treat him as if this was an exercise in ego.
What do you mean?
So if the whole point of going to an HBCU was to prove that you can go this way and that Deion's the best and that it's prime time and he takes that Florida State job after if they get rid of Mike Norvell or something like that, then you could look at him and say like, oh, this was just an exercise in ego. He wasn't actually trying to change the system. He wasn't actually trying to give a boost to HBCUs. He wasn't trying to blaze a path forward for black kids that have been making coaches and white boosters a whole lot of money, right? And I think it's okay to look at Deion Sanders and say, oh, you weren't real. You weren't real about this. You weren't actually all in. I don't know about being out on him. He's still Deion Sanders. He's still, to me, I mean, as far as sports that people care about, the best 2-sports star ever, a top defensive back ever, style icon, super motivationals, changed people's lives. He ran a bad prep school, but other than that, like he's done a lot of really, really good things. And so, I mean, to me, it's not going to sully his reputation. As like I look at him, I'm like, man, that's the best combo football baseball player ever. I know there's two sport guys out there that, Jake Plummer went to a Pro Bowl, then he won a handball championship. But I'm talking about like the major level stuff that people actually care about. I don't think it'll ruin his legacy for me, but I will think it will change the way that I look at him and say like, oh, this is about Dion, not about the culture.
Yes, exactly. And do you believe, because it's National Signing Day, this one today, but
Yeah.
after Travis Hunter, there is still a signing day in February. Is this the last rabbit out of the hat that Dion pulls? Because this is probably the biggest recruiting coup in the history of recruiting, literally, in the history of recruiting. Nobody saw this coming. Nobody.
Right. I think I saw somebody say like Ed Oliver would be maybe the closest that we've ever gotten to
Oh,
this.
where he went to Houston instead of Texas or
Yeah.
Texas A&M or Florida. I
But
mean, because that kid was one of the top 5 kids in the country.
yeah, as a guy who just didn't want to play that far from his house. Like that's
Yes,
really what it came down to, right? And then you
yeah,
have
but he
other things
said
of where
that
like,
from the beginning. Like you knew what that was from the jump.
yeah, I mean, you had the Mitch Mustaine kids follow Gus Malzahn into Arkansas instead of like, you know, Mitch Mustaine and all those kids that played high school football for him. Like we've seen some shocking stuff before, but we've never ever seen anything like this. And do I think that he'll have something equally shocking? No, but when a trail gets blazed, it's easier to walk on.
Yep.
And so we saw some trailblazing stuff here. It would not be hard to envision him being able to get 3 and 4 star recruits to commit to an HBCU, which makes you wonder if they'll commit to him. Would they commit to Eddie George? Would they commit to Hugh Jackson, who just got the
Mm.
Grambling job? Are we about to see the elevation of the HBCUs?
Yo.
And is that a good thing for college football?
Okay, so I said that one of two things would happen from this Travis Hunter thing is that either people will throw the bag at Dion Sanders and be like, yo, this guy's got the magic sauce. We need Dion. Or that more black head coaches will be hired because they're like, oh, wow, kids will go play for them. Because it's not just Dion. And I'm going to tell you this. Here is the truth. As a black father of a kid who's getting recruited right now, Mel Tucker looks real attractive because
Marcus
Marcus Freeman, dude, when the way the players responded to him, I was like, sign me up. And it's not just it is because, and it's not because a white coach can't do well by a black player, anything like that. Because I've had a bunch of white coaches, had a bunch of black coaches. Some of them been really good, some of them been really bad, all of that. But what it's about for me when I'm looking for the coach that I want my son to play for, I'm looking for leadership. I'm looking for high character. I'm looking for somebody who is going to be tough enough to demand excellence out of my kid in all areas. That's what I want. But if that just so happens to look like me, am I kind of partial to that? Maybe. But there are other leaders that I do respect. Like, for instance, if you look at a guy like Dabo Swinney, I respect his faith. I think he's relatively consistent. But in that consistency is some antiquated, ridiculous thoughts. Like going back to when this dude said, yo, at the point in time players start getting paid, that's when I'm out. What? They wanted to, at Clemson, they wanted to be able to find players for missing study hall and all of that stuff prior to them being paid. And I'm just like, do you not understand the idea that you're going to make millions of dollars off of these kids' backs, most of them black kids, and a good portion of them come from socioeconomically disadvantaged situations? And you're going to say that you're not okay with them making some bread? I mean,
They're okay, just not yet. Just not yet. Which I've never understood the not yet.
Here is the thing that I think that we all need to understand, Ralph, is that we all have a finite amount of time that we are going to make, that we're going to have our highest earning potential. For
Right.
some people, if you're like Macaulay Culkin, or the Olsen twins or something like that, you may have your highest earning potential prior to your 21st birthday. I mean, sometimes it's in your teens. Sometimes it's if you're Jaleel White, who was Urkel. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't know how much they make now, but I'm just saying, like, your highest earning potential may have been at that point. Look at
Yeah.
Johnny Manziel, how much he could have made in college. Because the whole point in going to college is to, number one, yes, it's to get an education, but it's really just to be a learner and also position yourself to be gainfully employed and to give yourself better chances to be successful in life, whether it's financially or in your industry, whatever else it is. So
But
why
there
on
was
earth?
nothing stopping. There was nothing stopping Mark Zuckerberg from in whatever he was majoring in from starting Facebook. There's not anything stopping an English major from starting a Fortune 500 company. There's nothing stopping your traditional student from capitalizing on the time and the connections that they have in their college years during their college years. Nothing. Only the NCAA steps in to do that. And they do that by saying, we're actually the ones giving the opportunity to earn later. We earn off you now so that you can earn later.
Dude, but
But
the
there's
thing is, only
nothing moral.
1% of them go pro. And
Right,
some of them go pro in sports that don't make money like that.
right.
And we have learned, and I said this from the beginning of Name, Image, and Likeness, because there was people that were like, "Oh my God, there's going to be players. Only the star quarterback is going to make money." The
Have you
star
seen some of
quarterback,
these
it's women
female basketball
who
players?
are
God
the
dang.
highest paid earners from Name, Image, and Likeness. Only
Not even the
one is signed with Nike, a
the
female
Cavender
athlete.
twins. The Cavender twins are at Fresno State, by the way. They're not even Power 5. They're not even Power 5. And the Cavender twins have made a ton of bread from the get-go. They got mobile wireless sponsorships. They're probably, I think, one of the top athletes on Cameo. Like that, it's ridiculous. And then you do have a lot of these smaller sports that have niche lifestyle and apparel brands associated with them, whether it's like rowing or tennis or anything like that. Where those people have the ability to broker deals with companies that are also trying to come up and use the attention of the people who are focused on that space. The real thing that this comes down to is that people hate change. They hate change. They like things a certain way, and that's okay. It is totally okay to like things a certain way and not want to see them change if the thing that you like isn't costing somebody else. And the problem is the thing that you like is actually hurting someone else to keep it the same.
No,
So
you
do you like it enough to keep people at a disadvantage? Then the problem actually lies with you. And I fully believe that that's a conversation worth having. I think that for the most part, things are just a matter of opinion, and people shouldn't get offended. But I will push back on anybody who says adults should not be able to capitalize on their skill set. Adults,
okay?
these are adults.
How about what Dabo said, where he said that, well, listen, it's adults that are manipulating these kids, getting them to do things, and he's like, oh yeah, things, but I'm like, this is no different than what it's always been. There
Yeah,
have always, since the inception of college sports, there have been inducements to getting there have been inducements, and that has not changed.
I agree. I fully agree. The thing with Dabo is he's saying that adults are manipulating kids into situations that that aren't to their best interest. But the truth is, let's say that I won the lottery. I won $100 million, and I had financial advisors from, you know, Edward Jones, Chase, Bank of America. They're all knocking down my door because they want to be able to take advantage of the capital that I've received. And they all believe that they're going to be the ones to get me the best returns. And in turn, they're going to be able to capitalize on that as well, and it's going to help them comp as well. That was the situation that we were in for the longest time. The lottery was your talent and the work that you put behind your talent. You won the genetic lottery. You're 6'3", 255 pounds, a fluid athlete, good hips, soft hands, all those things. A coach is coming into your living room and they're telling you, I am the one that can help you maximize this gift to its fullest extent. And in order to get that person to commit to you being the one to handle that investment and that gift, they had to convince you. And convincing is manipulation. Not all manipulation is bad. Not all
Exactly.
manipulation is bad. And so you, we have a situation in which Dabo Swinney is a master manipulator
Yes, he's
for
getting
the
players
greater
to
good.
sign.
For the greater good. And he's done a lot of good for a lot of people. But now there is more cooks in the kitchen. And I think that's the thing that he's most uncomfortable with. I understand where he's coming from. I just vehemently disagree, especially when it comes to capping the earning potential of adults who in other sports like basketball and baseball have the ability to earn as an 18-year-old. Not as part of the NCAA system, but who is to say that the NCAA is a moral good or moral right? It's
See,
just another option. And it's
yes,
just a thing that people are comfortable with because that's the way it's been done. That's it.
dude, and they are the reason why the system is what it is right now. So, and you guys, we will cover a bunch of National Signing Day stuff specifically as it relates to the Pac-12 on the Pac-12 Apostles podcast that'll come out today as well. But another thing that we wanted to talk about today was Steph Curry. Steph Curry broke the record, Ray Allen's record for all-time three-pointers made in NBA history. And I'm sitting here like, I knew it was coming. It was clear, it was evident, and Ralph, we said it before, but I can't think of another player who has changed the game on every single level more than Steph Curry has. No player. Because he's changed the way. Because if you look at, because people are like, oh, Shaq and Wilt and Bill Russell. Yeah, but the difference is you had to be born 7 feet tall and, to change that part of it. With Steph, he's a 6'3" normal human being with that turned his ability into a superpower, and he's changed the way the game is played from elementary school all the way up to the NBA.
You're absolutely right. And I just want to acknowledge the fact that your screen is frozen and it's hilarious. It's like I'm just talking to a picture of you, but your audio is still coming in. You look. It's just
I don't know why, and I'm
I
frozen with
know,
this stupid look on my face.
like you're just bored or completely displeased with what it is I have to say, and so I'm gonna try to be a little bit more exciting for you. But I think that you're probably right. If you had to argue for anybody, it might be. Um, I think historically, you could say Dr. J is one of those guys. Style and athleticism sort of like took over at that point. Jordan really changed the way that people how seriously people took the game. Um, because the whole like wanna be like Mike thing was it really is if you like work your ass off,
I wanna
right?
wanna wanna be
Yeah,
like Mike.
right. And so I think that he was definitely somebody that you can point to. And then Kobe Bryant changed what I say before I throw something in the trash.
Kobe.
Kobe every time. I never even like the Lakers. I don't care who it is, but anybody. I used to be a junior high teacher, and I on our classroom trash can was a sign that said, "You are not Kobe. Please place your debris into the trash can instead
Bro,
of throwing it from
are you
across the room."
kidding me? That
But
is hilarious.
you're back. You're back. I'll find the picture. I actually have a picture of my junior high wastebasket with the "You are not Kobe" sign on it. But Steph, I mean, it's probably fair to say that like Maybe some of the rules helped, but for the most part, you have a guy who is 6'3", 160, 170, who is pulling up from 40 on the regular.
Yeah.
He's made something like 500 of his threes have come beyond 27 feet. It's
Yes.
cartoonish. And now you have players coming in with unlimited range and a green
Because they've
light.
practiced it. And I remember I was talking to Gilbert Arenas about, and I think I told you before, Ralph, about that he talked about what the difference was in Washington versus what happened in Orlando, where he is one of the greatest scorers that the NBA has ever seen. But he couldn't do it in Orlando, partially because his knee was hurt, but the other part was because he kept getting pulled out of the game. He was like, "There's a difference when your coach gives you that green light and that confidence. I don't care if you throw the ball over your head, you're not coming out. Then that just gives you the confidence to just go out there and play. And when you get that internal feeling like I need to shoot this, yank, you're able to hit it. So I love it. He broke the record. But this is interesting because if you look at this chart that came out, here are the people who have assisted the most on Steph Curry three-pointers. Draymond at 479. Andre Iguodala second at 168. And he gave them Rolexes last night. And the guy who's third on that list at 153 tweeted like, "Yo, where my Rollie at, homie? Send the Rollie." And that's Kevin Durant. And does Kevin Durant and then Klay Thompson, who's below him too, do they deserve Rolexes as well? Because Klay Thompson's at 129 and potentially counting, and Kevin Durant's at 150, 153, 158, somewhere around there.
I mean, absolutely. Just don't stop there. Get Ray Allen a Rolex and Reggie one too for making it so that this record is even special. But I want to walk you through something because this was something that was put out by the Sporting News. Okay, most threes in a season before Steph Curry was Ray Allen at 269.
Yep.
Yeah. Steph has had 402 in a season. The most games with
He's going to
10
hit
plus
400
3-pointers,
again this season too, probably.
he is, yeah. The most games with 10 plus threes is, by the way, this is absurd that J.R. Smith did this 3 times, but J.R. Smith with 3. Steph Curry has done it 22 times.
Yes.
The most threes from over 27 feet, Kobe Bryant, of all people, hit 211. Steph Curry has done it 703 times in his career. The most seasons that someone spent leading the NBA in threes is Ray Allen with only 3, which just goes to show you how hard it is to be a consistent shooter over time because the conditions just have to be right. And then once you've set yourself up as the guy, then people will game plan against you. But Ray Allen had that at 3. Steph Curry has done it 7 times, going on 8.
Dude.
And then the most telling stat, the most seasons averaging 5 made threes per game. No one in NBA history has averaged 5 made threes per game. Steph Curry is on his way to his 5th right now.
Bro, so the idea when Ray Allen was like, it's subjective who's the best shooter of all time. No, it's not. He did it in 512 less games. Ray Allen took 1,300 games. He took 700 and some odd games. It's not close, my friend.
Think about it, George. You watched basketball before this millennium, right?
Yep.
So up until 1999, give me your top 3 shooters.
Ray Allen. You had to go with like, Dennis Scott.
Dennis Scott, 3D for sure.
And
He's
maybe like
Reggie.
And Reggie. I almost went Peja Stojakovic. But
Page is up there. So I think some of his best years might have been early odds.
But Reggie Miller for sure. Reggie Miller, Ray Allen, but Ray Allen was just kind of getting started at that point.
Right.
So
for me, it was like Dale Ellis and Danny Ainge, and I'm pretty sure.
Yes, Dale Ellis too. Yes,
Steph has more than. Danny Ainge spent like 10 years as a top 5 all-time total 3-point field goal maker.
Yeah. And that's where the game has changed so much. Yeah, but you guys, this is Wednesday on Reister or Wrong. You guys make sure that you tell a friend about it, share with a friend. Yeah, send a note, send an email, all those things. Peace out. Catch you guys.